She kissed him at the door at 9:15 in the morning, and that was the last time anyone who loved her saw her alive. That detail, the kiss, the ordinary hotel room, the Tuesday morning light coming through the curtains, is the part that stays with you. Because everything about that moment was completely, unremarkably normal. Martin Caldwell was a corporate attorney from Boston, attending a 2-day professional conference at a downtown Philadelphia hotel. His wife Ellen, 50 years old, had come along not for the conference but because she loved to travel, and Philadelphia was a city she had never visited. While Martin sat through presentations on the conference's first day, Ellen had planned a full itinerary for herself, a sightseeing tour bus that would take her through Independence Hall, the Liberty Bell, and the Historic District. She had been looking forward to it. They had been married 8 months. They made plans to meet back in the room at 5 p.m. so they could attend the conference cocktail reception together at 6. They kissed. Martin left for the conference. Ellen continued getting ready. That is the last confirmed, documented moment of Ellen Caldwell's life that makes any sense. Martin returned to the room at 5:30, running slightly late from the conference session. The room was empty. He assumed she had gone ahead to the cocktail reception and mixed up their meeting location. He went downstairs. She was not there. He came back to the room, waited, went back down, came back up. By 6:30, with still no sign of Ellen anywhere in the hotel, something shifted in him from mild concern to genuine fear. He went to the concierge. Together they called local hospitals, the closest emergency rooms, the urgent care centers Ellen might have been taken to if something had happened on her tour. She was not at any of them. Martin got a cab and rode the tour bus route himself, watching the sidewalks, looking into shop windows, scanning crowds for a 50-year-old woman with dark hair, and this detail will matter later, a distinctive red backpack she carried everywhere she went. He searched until midnight. Then he went to the police station. The officer at the desk informed him that Philadelphia's missing persons policy required 24 hours to pass before a report could be filed. His wife had been missing for approximately 7 hours. He would need to come back tomorrow. Martin Caldwell returned to the hotel room alone and did not sleep. He lay in the dark in a room that still smelled like her, and thought about a woman who had kissed him goodbye that morning, looking completely fine, completely happy, completely herself, and tried to locate the moment when the day had turned, and could not find it. The following morning Martin did 2 things before returning to the police station. He attended the conference session not because he wanted to, but because the morning speakers included Philadelphia's mayor and a state representative, and he understood that speaking directly to people with institutional influence was more likely to produce a useful investigation than simply filing a report at a front desk. He was right. Both politicians apparently made calls. When Martin walked into the police station that morning, 2 detectives were waiting. The investigation began immediately, and almost immediately, it split into 2 completely different theories. Some detectives considered Martin their primary suspect. This despite the documented fact that he had been a speaker at a conference session during the window when Ellen vanished, placing him in a room full of witnesses who could account for every minute of his afternoon. Other detectives concluded Ellen was experiencing some kind of personal crisis and would eventually turn up on her own terms. Neither theory produced anything useful in the first days. Ellen's 2 adult children from a previous marriage flew to Philadelphia and began their own search, renting bicycles to move quickly through the city, stopping at hospitals, homeless shelters, the city morgue. Every stop was a dead end. Then the sightings started. As the story spread through Philadelphia media, reports came in from across the city. The majority led nowhere, but several were specific enough, strange enough, and consistent enough in certain details to be taken seriously and taken together. They painted a picture of Ellen Caldwell on April 10th that was deeply disturbing. Someone reported seeing a woman matching her description at the corner of Broad and Locust Street around 3 in the afternoon, apparently disoriented, standing on the sidewalk as if uncertain which direction to move. 2 separate sightings came from the Penn's Landing neighborhood, both reporting a woman who appeared visibly confused or mentally unwell. The strangest sighting came from the Society Hill Hotel, a different hotel, 3 blocks from where the Caldwells were staying. Staff there reported that a woman matching Elon's description checked in on April 13th, 3 days after she disappeared, under a false name. She remained there until April 15th. Behavior during that stay was unusual enough that hotel employees had privately nicknamed her their guest of the week. She spoke to herself in ways staff could not follow. She told the front desk that someone she referred to as the Emperor would send money to cover an extended stay. At one point, she stood in front of a fully open window in view of the street and behaved in a way that caused the front desk to receive complaints from passersby. A report came in from a Macy's department store in New Jersey. A clerk and a customer both believed they had encountered Ellen, a woman who said she was shopping for her daughter. Mentioned that her daughter rarely liked what she picked out and wore a distinctive red backpack. Ellen's family confirmed immediately. The backpack was hers, she carried it everywhere, and the comment about her daughter sounded exactly like something she would say. As the woman was leaving the store, she apparently tried to convince another shopper to leave with her. Every sighting contained something strange. Every sighting described a woman who was visibly and obviously not functioning normally, and none of them produced Ellen. For 5 months, this was the pattern. Reports. Tips. Private investigators Martin hired at considerable expense. Flyers distributed across Philadelphia and beyond. Nothing. Then, on September 7, 1997, a father and son went hunting in a national forest outside Asheville, North Carolina. Asheville, North Carolina, is 630 miles from Philadelphia. The father and son found the remains near a picnic area in the national forest, scattered across the forest floor, partially pulled from a shallow grave by animals. Police and the medical examiner determined quickly that the bones belonged to a woman between 40 and 55 years old, with significant arthritis in her left knee. Then they noted the specific pattern of marks on the bones, distinctive chips and scoring that indicated stabbing. This was a murder. A doctor at a North Carolina hospital saw a news story about the discovery and connected it to a missing woman from Philadelphia he had heard about months earlier. He sent a fax to the Philadelphia police. They retrieved Ellen's dental records and sent them south. Within days, the confirmation came back. The bones in the North Carolina forest were Ellen Caldwell's. She had been murdered, stabbed, buried in a shallow grave in the wilderness, more than 600 miles from the Philadelphia hotel room where she had kissed her husband goodbye on a Tuesday morning in April. The discovery answered the question of where Ellen was. It opened a series of new questions that have never been answered. The clothing on Ellen's leg bones, the only clothing that remained intact enough to examine, included jeans and hiking boots. Martin had never seen her wear either. These were not clothes she had packed for a Philadelphia conference trip. They were not clothes anyone in her life recognized as hers. She had acquired them at some point between April 10th and whenever she died, and no one knows when that was, where she got the clothes, or what had happened in between. The red backpack was not at the scene. It was never found. A different bag was found near the grave, a black and blue vinyl backpack that no one connected to Ellen. A pair of expensive sunglasses was recovered from the gravesite. Martin had never seen them before. Her family did not recognize them. Ellen Caldwell had arrived in that forest in different clothes, carrying different things. Without the bag, she never went anywhere without. And someone had stabbed her and buried her in a shallow grave in a North Carolina wilderness, and then walked away. The question of who was not answered by her discovery. It has not been answered since. When North Carolina investigators began working the scene, they discovered that Ellen had apparently been in the Asheville area in April. Weeks before her remains were found, in September, a staff member at the Biltmore Estate, a famous historic property and tourist attraction in Asheville, believed they had encountered a woman matching Elon's description in April. A deli owner in the area recalled a woman who came in with a gray sedan, purchased $30 worth of sandwiches and a toy truck, and behaved in a way he remembered because it was unusual. A campground owner had a conversation with a woman he believed was Ellen. She arrived in the gray sedan and asked if she could camp there in her vehicle. While they spoke, he noticed the car was filled with boxes and bags. When he told her camping in a vehicle was not permitted, she drove away. None of these people reported anything alarming at the time. A woman traveling through Asheville in a gray sedan full of boxers. Unremarkable. The kind of person you talk to briefly and forget. Ellen had never mentioned Asheville to Martin. Not once. She had no connection to the city that anyone could identify. No friends there, no family, no history that would explain why she would travel 600 miles to a city she had apparently never expressed any interest in. When her family heard about the Asheville sightings, one detail struck them immediately and could not be explained. During one encounter, the woman told a local clerk that her husband was an attorney in Boston who was attending a conference in Philadelphia, and that she had decided to go to Asheville while he was occupied. Ellen had told a stranger in Asheville that she was going to Asheville while her husband was at his conference, as if it had been a plan all along. Martin had no knowledge of any such plan. He did not believe it had existed. He had spoken to Ellen the evening before their trip and the morning of her disappearance, and she had expressed nothing but enthusiasm for her Philadelphia sightseeing day. The gray sedan was never identified. No one established where it came from, who owned it, or where it went after the campground. The boxers in the back seat, what they contained, where they were going, what they meant, were never explained. Whether Ellen was in that car willingly, whether she was being transported by someone, whether she was running from something or toward something, was never determined. Between the campground encounter and the shallow grave in the national forest, there is nothing. No witness, no camera footage, no credit card transaction, no phone call, nothing that places Ellen anywhere or with anyone. Someone drove her, or she drove herself, into that forest. Someone stabbed her, someone buried her. That person was never identified. That person may still be alive. The gray sedan and the boxers are the last image anyone has of Ellen Caldwell moving through the world. A car full of unknown things, driving away from a campground in Asheville, disappearing into a city that had no reason to remember her. Martin Caldwell was cleared as a suspect by North Carolina investigators relatively early in the process. His conference alibi was documented and witnessed. His physical condition, he was severely obese, in a way that significantly limited his mobility, made it functionally impossible for him to have moved a body deep into wilderness terrain. North Carolina closed that line of inquiry. Philadelphia never did. Philadelphia investigators never formally cleared Martin. In the years after Elon's death, he refused a polygraph examination, a refusal that kept suspicion alive in certain quarters. Though Martin's position was that he would only submit to a polygraph administered by the FBI and not by local police. The reasons for that specific condition were never fully explained publicly. At least one person close to Ellen told investigators that the marriage had been struggling, despite its newness, that the relationship was more fragile than the public picture suggested. Martin maintained the marriage was strong. Everyone else who knew the couple agreed with him. One friend's account stood against all the others, and it was never corroborated. Martin died in 2005. He never learned where Ellen went. He never learned why. He never learned who was in the forest with her. The case remains officially open in both Pennsylvania and North Carolina. What is known fits into a few sentences. On April 10, 1997, Ellen Caldwell left a Philadelphia hotel on a sightseeing tour and did not return. Over the following weeks, she was seen multiple times in Philadelphia, behaving in ways that suggested serious psychological disturbance. She was then seen in Asheville, North Carolina, 600 miles away, behaving in ways that suggested she had arrived with a plan no one knew about, traveling in a gray sedan packed with boxers. In September 1997, her remains were found in a national forest outside Asheville. She had been stabbed and buried. She was wearing clothes no one recognized. Her distinctive red backpack was never found. What is not known is everything else. How she traveled 600 miles. Whether she went willingly or under compulsion. Who the gray sedan belonged to. What was in the boxes. Who she had been with in the days between Philadelphia and Asheville. Who killed her. Whether the person who killed her knew her, or whether Ellen Caldwell encountered someone in those weeks of confusion and wandering who decided, for reasons that have never been established, that she would not be leaving. The shallow grave in the North Carolina forest had been dug before she was placed in it. Someone had a shovel. Someone had a plan. Someone walked into that forest with Ellen Caldwell and walked out alone. That person has never been identified. No arrest has ever been made. No suspect has ever been named publicly. Ellen kissed her husband goodbye at 9:15 on a Tuesday morning in April 1997 in a Philadelphia hotel room. She was wearing her red backpack. She was happy. She had a whole day planned. The red backpack was never found. The grave was shallow enough that animals reached her before investigators did. And the question that sits at the center of the case, not where she went or how she died, but why any of it happened at all, has no answer. Has never had one, may never have one. The case file in Philadelphia is still open. Somewhere, the gray sedan with the boxers in the back seat drove away from an Asheville campground and kept going. Nobody saw where it went.